Hello folks, this is Pastor Mike Hoggard, pastor of Bethel Church in Festus, Missouri, and head of prophetic research ministry with a very, very special edition of the Watchman video broadcast. This is actually the first of 3 DVDs that we're going to do concerning Dan Brown's new book, The Lost Symbol. In this video, we're going to show you symbols that you may have seen. We're going to show you symbols that maybe you have never seen. We're not only going to show them to you, we're going to reveal in this video exactly what they mean. A lot of people drive by lodges in their hometowns, Masonic temples. You see them all over the place. Most people never ever know what's going on inside of there, nor the rituals that are conducted or the things that go on there. We're going to show you not only some of those rituals, but we're also going to show you exactly what they mean. In the course of our study, we'll use several primary sources for our information. Number 1, Albert Pike's Morals and Dogma. Albert Pike is known as the grandfather of American Freemasonry and was a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Mason. He is so honored by Freemasons that he is entombed in the Mother Lodge of Freemasonry in Washington, D.C. Albert Pike said in his Morals and Dogma, Masonry, like all the religions, all the mysteries, Hermeticism, and alchemy, conceals its secrets from all except the adepts and sages or the elect, and uses false explanations and misinterpretations of its symbols to mislead those who deserve only to be misled, to conceal the truth which it calls light from them, and to draw them away from it. Truth is not for those who are unworthy or unable to receive it or would pervert it. Another source that we're going to use throughout this video is The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly Hall. Dan Brown based a lot of his book, The Lost Symbol, upon the teachings of Manly Hall, and specifically this book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages. In this book, Manly Hall writes, symbolism is the language of the mysteries. By symbols, men have ever sought to communicate to each other those thoughts which transcend the limitations of language. He also goes on to say, in a single figure, a symbol may both reveal and conceal. For to the wise, the subject of the symbol is obvious, while to the ignorant, the figure remains inscrutable. Hence, he who seeks to unveil the secret doctrine of antiquity must search for that doctrine not upon the open pages of books, which might fall into the hands of the unworthy, but in the place where it was originally concealed. He continues to write, concealed within the emblematic figures, allegories, and rituals of the ancients is a secret doctrine concerning the inner mysteries of life, which doctrine has been preserved in toto among a small band of initiated minds since the beginning of the world. Departing, these illumined philosophers left their formula that others too might attain to understanding. But lest these secret processes fall into uncultured hands and be perverted, the great arcanum was always concealed in symbol or allegory. Those who can today discover its lost keys may open with them a treasure house of philosophic, scientific, and religious truths. Many Masonic authors teach and believe the language of symbolism got its start at the Tower of Babel, when God confused the languages of mankind. These men, realizing that they could not converse with each other in a normal fashion, began to use symbols to convey thoughts and later to conceal secret doctrines. Nimrod, the builder of the Tower of Babel and of Babylon, was referred to as, quote, the first and most excellent master. A Masonic text known as the Thistle Manuscript of 1756 says that Nimrod created the Masons and gave them their signs and terms so that they could distinguish themselves from other people. Now, in order to fully understand these Masonic symbols, we're going to divide them up into 3 themes or 3 categories. The first category is the evolution of man to godhood. Number 2, a coming kingdom on the earth, or a new age, or a new world order. Number 3, the rise and revealing of the Antichrist on planet Earth. Now, let's look at this first theme in understanding the symbols or the secret behind the symbols of Freemasonry. As always, we're going to use the Bible as our primary source for understanding. It and it alone has the whole truth of God contained in it. Let's look at Genesis chapter 3. We're going to go all the way back to the beginning. Let's look at Genesis chapter 3 to find the theme of the evolution of man to godhood. Remember, the serpent was in the Garden of Eden, and he was tempting Eve, the first woman. And this is what he said: "For God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil." Manly Hall refers to this in his book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, and refers to it as, quote, "the mystery of human evolution," and speaks of the process as turning, quote, "man into the estate of gods." There's an increasingly popular notion out there spreading around right now that's popular among biologists, scientists, futurists, philosophers. It's a term called transhumanism. It is the idea that humanity is going to elevate himself above what he is right now. There are other terms for this. Homonexus, which means the joining of man with a sort of a higher level, the evolution of man to a new level. Another term for this, homo evolutus, which basically means, and all of this concept revolves around the idea that mankind is about ready to enter his next stage of evolution. And that stage is going to be based upon the ability of man right now, scientifically, to either alter or allow the alteration of his DNA. DNA, the book of life itself. The double helix that is the essence of humanity. A book written by God himself that is to remain unaltered and unaccented by any means. Its structure is that of a spiral ladder, joined together by the rungs of 4 base pairs: adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine. These base pairs are sequenced to form amino acids. These amino acids, coated together in a certain structure, form the genes that make up humanity. Our first look at Freemason symbols is the ladder of Freemasonry. The ladder reaching from earth to heaven shows the ascension of man in evolutionary steps or degrees to godhood. Related to the Masonic symbol of the ladder is the Masonic winding staircase. This was adopted from the temple that Solomon built. In 1 Kings chapter 6 verse 8, the Bible says, "The door of the middle chamber was in the right side of the house. And they went up with winding stairs into the middle chamber, and out of the middle into the third." He uses this symbol to show the path of illumination, man's path to godhood. In Dan Brown's own book, Professor Robert Langdon is quoted as saying, "The secret hides within is the core tenet of the mysteries, urging mankind to seek God not in the heavens, but rather within himself." In the human body, the DNA is stored in packages called chromosomes. Now, there are 23 of these chromosome pairs, or 46, inside each and every cell that you have. These chromosomes often take on the form of a cross or an X, and they're referred to as X chromosomes. It is interesting to note that in the opening chapter of Albert Pike's Morals and Dogma is the rule and gavel of Freemasonry brought together to form the cross, which now we know is a symbol for the X chromosome where our DNA is stored. Manly P. Hall writes in The Secret Teachings of All Ages, "The cross is symbolic of the human body." Now, the second theme that we're going to look at in order to understand what all these Freemasonic symbols mean is the theme of a coming kingdom on the earth, or a new age, or as a lot of people are talking about, a new world order. There's a lot of things in the Bible that tell us about this, but we're going to focus specifically upon Daniel chapter 2. In Daniel chapter 2, King Nebuchadnezzar had a vision, and he didn't understand the vision. He couldn't even remember what the vision was. It was the prophet Daniel, a man of God, who came to him to reveal to him not only what this vision was, but the interpretation of the vision. Specifically in this case, we're going to concentrate upon the 4th kingdom kingdom prophesied by Daniel in the book of Daniel chapter 2. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron. For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it the strength of iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. But they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. A lot of Bible scholars over the years have tried to identify who exactly this fourth kingdom is or where it comes from. But let's follow the principles that are given to us in the Scripture concerning the number 4. In the book of Ephesians, Paul warned us that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against 4 things: a kingdom consisting of principalities, powers, rulers of darkness, and spiritual wickedness in high places. This coming fourth kingdom that Daniel predicted is a kingdom not of men, but a kingdom of fallen angels, led by the ultimate fallen angel himself, Lucifer. Daniel also spoke of this kingdom as a beast in Daniel chapter 7, having 10 horns. The Apostle John, who wrote the book of Revelation, also spoke of this beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. These 10 horns are said to represent 10 kings that will control the population of planet Earth during Earth's last days. This brings us to the Jewish mystic symbol of the Sephiroth. It is often referred to as the Tree of Life, and many Masonic and Jewish authors refer to it as a symbol for the divine man. The Sephiroth contains 10 circles. These represent the 10 kings spoken of by Daniel and by the Apostle John. These 10 circles are joined together by 22 paths. These paths are representatives of the 22 amino acids that are formed in the DNA of mankind. It is these amino acids that form gene sequences and that determine who we are as a species. The symbolism of the Sephiroth shows the mingling of the 10 kings prophesied in the book of Daniel with the seed of man, literally his DNA. It is these 10 circles added to the 22 paths, the 10 kings joined together with the 22 amino acids in man's DNA that Manly P. Hall says forms the 32 degrees of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. The third thing that we're going to look at, probably the most important thing that we're going to look at concerning understanding the nature and the core and the understanding of Freemasonic symbols, is the theme of the rise and the revealing of the Antichrist in the last days. Revelation chapter 13 verse 1 says, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy." Revelation chapter 17 verse 8 says, "The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not, and yet is." In this passage, the Bible is teaching us